Alright, new day, new project. We're getting ready for maple syrup season. It's still cold outside, and we need our nights to be freezing and our days to be above zero for this maple syrup. But we're getting closer and closer to that. We're a little later than last year. Last year, I believe we started tapping February 26th. Now it is today, March. Yeah, it's not a lot of difference, I guess, but it's still too cold. It looks like the next 2 weeks will still be too cold. So, I don't know, we'll see. We got one day that's going to be above zero. I think Sunday coming up here. Today is Wednesday, so I don't know. Maybe we'll be able to tap something that day. We're getting everything ready, though. We're going to get all the pails washed up, all the supplies ready to go, and possibly do a bit of tapping on Saturday. See how it goes. Got a bit of a half decently busy week this week, so I got to fit it all in. But at least start getting it ready and getting in the right direction. So I went to the bush and I picked it all up. Yes, I know, shouldn't have left it all out there, but all the pails stayed out there. So we're bringing them all up to the house now. We'll get them all rinsed out and ready to go. Rinsed out, dried out, ready to go. Hey, cows. Those two there, I'm not very happy with that. Oh, they're two old skinny girls I bought with the group. This one here was nursing a calf. So I think both of those are going to get called out of the herd. They're definitely not pride and joy. You get some of these guys are nice, great big animals and looking really good. And then you compare it to something like that just does not look good. This one here just had a calf. Number 7. Yeah. Oh, there's a big red. She's a huge cow. That'd be by far the biggest one we have. So anyway, that's what I was up to. I'm gonna drop this off. I got a bunch of running around to do. I have 2 wood splitters. One's mine, one's not. Both of them aren't working, so I'm bringing them away. Hope to get them fixed. And sorry, looking at these guys. This one here, that there one's gonna calve here right shortly too. The next week, 2 weeks is my guess. Number 10 will be calving. And then number 1 there, we call her Dusty. She's got a tan colored there. Her as well. She's starting to bag up now, so she won't be very long. That black one was another one of the really skinny ones when it showed up. It actually did pretty good this winter. It's not feeding the calf, mind you, which helps. But it's gained a bit of weight. It's the only one with a pink tag. It's kind of an odd duck. The rest all have a white tag with a number on it. So anyway, I'm going to send those wood splitters out. See if we get those fixed. This tractor here has got a bad hydraulic leak on 2 cylinders that got bent this winter. I gotta peel them off. The problem is sending them out. It's gonna take, the guy figured, anywhere 6 to 10 days before I'll see them back. And I need this tractor pretty well every day, so I'm trying to juggle how I'm gonna make that work. I can't be without for 10 days. So I might take the cylinder out, bring it to him, tell him to have a look. He can order whatever he needs, and then I'll take it home again or something. I wonder if that might be an option. Anyway, we'll figure that one as we go. That's another project for today. And yeah, oh, I gotta cut some more firewood today too. So yep, come along. So this is our wood splitter. It's got a wheel for the front here too. It goes in that hole on the bottom side, but it's frozen the ice right now. And then this wheel's flat. I think it's been flat as long as I've owned it. I bought a stack of firewood off an older guy that was retiring, and an outdoor wood stove. So we ended up selling the outdoor wood stove again. This is in Saskatchewan before we came here. But we kept the wood splitter because it's worked great. I had to replace the pump last year. It's a hydraulic pump right there as the motor spins. Right now I can't get the motor running for some reason. So hopefully I can drop it off. Hopefully he'll be able to fix it. And then the other wood splitter, pardon the noise, it's pretty noisy back here. This is a big one. So the guy I'm dropping it off at, this one belongs to his dad, and the Amish community uses it. So I was borrowing it as well. It splits a lot faster. You can throw big chunks in here and it splits it in 4 pieces at once. It's way faster splitting. It's nice when it works. And then it's got some automatic features on it. At one point or another you would have been able to lay this down, and then there's a winch in there. You would drag the log up, and then you'd be able to cut it on the table here. And you can see where people have hit here with the saw. You'd cut it into chunks, and it would split it. This folds down. Oh, but I'm not going to do that right now or I'll hit my tractor. But that folds down as a chute, so the pieces get shoved through, and then just keeps making a pile. So we use this quite a bit actually this winter. I bought a whole pile of logs, and we were cutting them up, splitting them on here. And then the last time I went to use it, I couldn't get it going either. Got a splitting axe somewhere. Lots of sparks. You got her full of fuel? The tractor? Oh. So I don't know what the deal is. I'm gonna bring it to him, and hopefully he's able to fix it. He used to fix small engines, I guess. So hopefully he can get her fixed up, because I'd like to use it again. On the tractor, we built this last year, just a piece so I can move trailers around with the tractor. It's nothing fancy, pretty chintzy actually. This is part of the attachment for the vehicles, and then I just had this other piece, put a hole through it. But I needed the spacer, that's why we're still using that portion. So it looks pretty chintzy, but it works. And I can hook this onto there and drag it over to his place. There's all the sap pails. Like I said, they got all leaves and stuff on the outside. Most of the insides aren't too bad, but they'll get them all scrubbed up, hot water and soap. We're ready for this year. Ideally, that would all be cleaned up in the fall and stored, but if you remember back, or if you're new to the channel, I guess maybe you could look back a few videos. Our fall was incredibly busy, our spring, summer, and fall, and there's a few things we just did not get around to. Well, you'd have to be living under a rock lately not to have heard what's going on in the world right now with Russia and such. And it just makes for a question. Have you ever looked into Russia? With all that's going on, we've spent a lot of time looking into it. Just kind of what kind of a country it is and what it's like. So time to time we consider moving to different places in the world and what that would look like. We've lived here all our lives basically, and I don't know. Sometimes it'd be neat to see what something else would be like, what another country would look like. Farming in South America, or farming in, well, I've looked into Australia a lot, especially when I was younger. I thought that'd be cool. I looked into Brazil before. And so anyway, yeah, moving to Russia. I think that'd be kind of a neat thing. And actually, considering we live in Canada, I think it would be a very minimal amount of change, aside from language and culture, of course. I'm sure that's vastly different. I don't know enough about it. But the country is up in the northern hemisphere, just like we are. A lot of our country is, I don't want to call it useless land. It's just, it's not really habitable. It's so cold for so long of the year that nobody really does anything with it, right? Which is great as a you know, just natural preserve, I guess. It just stays all natural. And from what I can tell, Russia is essentially the same thing. They probably have even more of this unusable land than we do. Yeah, vast territory of land that's so cold. But there's also huge chunks of wonderful, beautiful land. And Russia, from side to side, I don't know how long it is or how wide it is a massive country. So on the western side, you're tucked up against Europe, and that has its own climate advantages, because most of Europe doesn't get a lot of snow. It's kind of mild compared to where we're living here. And then you move into the east of Russia, from what I understand there, they get long winters and very short summers. But then you also get down south, you get, you know, so you move over to the east of Russia and then go, you know, more southerly. Parts of it is just above Mongolia. And when I hear Mongolia, again, I'm thinking totally different climate than where I'm living here today. So I think it would be kind of neat, actually, moving to Russia. The differences from coast to coast, from one end to the other, that we see in this country, I think are even more amplified in a country like Russia. Pardon me, I'm bouncing around in my tractor here. But more amplified in a country like Russia than they are here, if that makes any sense. Right? This country, from coast to coast, we've been all the way to the East Coast, we've stuck our feet in the Atlantic Ocean, and we've been almost to the West Coast, not quite. We'd like to do that yet sometime, and put our feet in the Pacific Ocean. But it's so different. We have the Rocky Mountains on the west side, and then we have this flat no man's land out in the prairies there, and then you get into the rocks again into Ontario and Quebec, and then off to the east. It's geographically, I think that's a word, I think so, different and vast, huge. And Russia's more so, more big. I think they probably have more microclimates. Honestly, I haven't looked into it a lot. It's just Russia's on the brain, and Russia's in the news, and Russia's wherever, and makes a fella curious. What's it like over there, right? So it's more emerging than we are. It seems like wages are a lot lower, which is good and bad. I guess if you're in business and you want to hire people, it's good to have cheaper wages. I sometimes think we're overpaid around here, and that makes the cost of everything that we want to purchase higher. Farmland is cheap, and they got tons of it. There is a lot of really good farmland over there, and it's not going for a whole lot of money compared to what we got to pay for land around here. I don't know if you can still find land for, well, cheapest I can think of top of my head would be like $600 to $1,000 an acre. So if you wanted to buy 100 acres, you're going to be, I don't think you'd find it for less than that for farmland. It used to be in Northern Ontario you could buy land for $300-400 an acre, but you can't find it anymore, not that I'm aware of. And that's not cleared, that's bush. Whereas over there, if you convert our dollars, Canadian dollars, to Russian rubles, it would be the equivalent of less than $100 an acre in some areas for cleared land, ready to go, like farmable. So that is a huge advantage to anybody wanting to move. I know there are people that have been moving from different areas in the world due to whatever's going on in their own country. I've heard of some South Africans moving. They don't feel safe at home anymore, so they've moved. And obviously Europeans I've heard of moving to Russia due to land pressure and price and availability in their own country. And then they have these amazing deals that you can get in Russia for land. People doing that. So yeah, you got land price, you get a diversity in a country that you can travel from one end to another and see so much beauty, so much God's rugged, just awesome creation. I think that's probably why I do it. I think that's why we move a lot. We get kind of bored of one area, and then we want to see, hey, what's it look like on that side of the mountain or on the other side of this or whatever. It's beautiful. So yeah, there's some advantages there to moving to another country. Moving to Russia. Be a big move. I think the scariest part of that would be the language. They have their own unique alphabet. It doesn't look like ours. Well, some of the letters do, but then they sound totally different. And their own culture. I don't know how different that would be. I imagine it would be quite different than here. But language, yeah, that'd be the toughest part. And from what I've looked into it only briefly again, not super serious about it. But looking into it briefly, yeah, you have to learn the language within X amount of years in order to live there. And so I think that could be a challenge. I don't know how easy it is to learn it. Listening to it and looking at the letters, it doesn't look very simple. It looks pretty complicated, actually. So, interesting thought. Anybody ever think of moving to another country? And what kind of country? There you see all the hungry girls looking at me. I don't think they're that hungry, actually. I just fed them yesterday, and I wouldn't be back again till Friday, probably. But now that the cylinder needs to be fixed, I can't guarantee I'll be here Friday, or Saturday, or Sunday. And so I figure they'll be pretty hungry by then. There's the bull right there in the middle with the orange tag. Big boy. Anyway, can't guarantee I'll be back in time, so I'll feed them all now. The small pile left, this was a big pile of corn silage that we harvested last year and put here. And there's about a quarter of the pile left, I guess. Well, a little bit more. It drops off at the back, actually. It's deceiving. There's more feed there than you think. So that's all corn silage. It was long corn plants. If you ever, seen corn in a field, sweet corn even. We'll chop it all up into pieces. You can see the kernels in there. All gets cut into tiny pieces and then packed into a pile. Makes for great feed. Nice seeing all the animals. They're all happy, nicely bedded down. Those guys outside are not supposed to have that straw. That straw is meant for bedding down the barn here, but they're enjoying it. So. Snowing again today. I was hoping we were gonna be done winter sometime, but it just keeps on coming. So one thing that I like to take into consideration when considering a move, or even just, well, yeah, I guess if you're thinking of moving to somewhere else, farming is incredibly unprofitable depending on the size of the scale that you want to go in. When I used to manage a feedlot, I looked after 8,000 head of cattle, and we did 2 batches a year, so that's 16,000 head of cattle that we ran through that place. Now, just pick a number, but if you made $10 a head, then you would have a profit of $160,000. That's not bad, right? And obviously profits are much higher than that, but I'm just using the numbers here just for the sake of argument here. So us here, we have what, about 18 cows roughly? So if we made $10 a head, that's $180. You see how the scale then makes a much more profit. And that's why we see farms getting bigger and bigger and bigger all the time in this country. I would think stateside would be no different. But in order to make the same profit margin, you have to get larger. And that means you need a lot more capital to get you started in order to make profit in the first place. And obviously not everybody's got that access to capital. You know, if you've got a family farm and somebody's willing to split it up and give you a bunch of money to get you started, that's great, but we don't all have that. You know, my wife and I have had to start from scratch and from nothing. And so, yeah, we have a 200-acre farm, but not all of that's workable. A lot of that's bush. Bush is not profitable, really. I mean, you could sell firewood out of it, I guess. You can raise animals in it, but your stocking density is pretty low. So that's something I always consider. If we were to move somewhere, what's the possibilities of farming and making a profit at it? Something you can pass on to the children and they can make a living at, right? So something to keep in mind in any country, no matter where it is around the world. A lot of people, I think, have a misconception that you know, we live in this great, and we do live in a great country, don't get me wrong, that's not the misconception, but that, you know, they all want to come over here because it's easy money. And maybe at one point or another it was, but I mean, yeah, if you apply yourself, there's money to be made. But farming's tough. Like it's I don't know, they make it harder all the time, I think, to make a living at it. So that's something I take into consideration when looking around other places. If I were to move to another country, what's it like over there, and is it possible to actually still make money homesteading and just, you know, just a family farm, just you know, not having such a large scale, just, you know, just having what we have here, a bunch of sheep and a bunch of cows and, you know, a bunch of ducks and geese and being able to make a living at that. So, and that's one thing I found with Russia. It looks like you actually can. Their farming economy is rising. There's such a demand for food in that area, you know, especially with the Asian neighbors that they have, that actually there's a possibility to make a living in Russia in agriculture. And the cost to begin, so that's what I was saying earlier, it's the startup cost that costs so much. Even if you did need a larger farm, the price of land being so much lower there, that larger farm would cost you less to begin with than it would here where we live. All right, so it's not impossible to do it here, but we prefer not to have an enormous amount of debt. I don't believe it's wise to have a lot of debt. So then if you want to start it with less debt, then you need more capital of your own, or you need to find a cheaper place to buy land. And that drives us farther and farther north in Canada. You're farther from markets. cost of production is a little higher then, but your inputs to start up is lower. So that, yeah, like I said, Russia has lower land costs and equipment costs, labor costs, all these things that you would need to get something going on off the ground, which actually makes it more affordable and therefore more attractive to go and start. Now, obviously there's some political unrest there right now, which would make things unattractive. And I don't know enough about it, I guess, but there's certain countries that I would deem to be safe. I'm 99% sure that tomorrow morning the money that I have in the bank will still be in the bank here in Canada, although that's a changing political scene as well. But there are some countries where you're not guaranteed that. You don't know if when you wake up in the morning you'll still have, you know, whatever it is that you had the day before. And I would feel there's probably more corruption or more chance of losing that stuff there than here. But again, I'm not an expert on the matter. I don't know. I just see other countries sometimes, you know, something goes in the news and like, hey, I wonder what it would be like to live over there. And so certain things cross our minds from time to time. But look at that beautiful weather. I wonder if it's going to stop snowing sometime. Last year we hardly had any snow. This year it just keeps snowing and snowing and snowing and snowing. So this here is the silage bale. You turn that around. You don't need to look at me. Here's the ram, big boy. These girls hopefully are going to start lambing here this coming April. So that would be exciting. We'll have some babies. Looking forward to that. I got to cut these strings off yet. That's why I'm standing here. I just plunked this in. The deal I've got with one of the Amish guys, every time I go over there to feed his horses, it's about an hour's worth of work. And so I just say, well, you know what, instead of him paying me, I'll just take 2 of these bales every time I go. It's worth more than that. These bales aren't worth quite that much, but anyway, it's good for me because these sheep absolutely love these. And it's good for him too. He can't feed the bales fast enough to keep them from spoiling. This is actually wet. It's not dry hay. It's wet. And so you always have, like, it comes out of a roll with plastic on it. We've got them all wrapped up. And you always have one side exposed. And when it's exposed, the air can get in and then it can start to rot. So you have to feed it fast enough to keep it from spoiling. And he doesn't quite feed it fast enough. So with me taking some home, it actually helps. So it's a win for him and win for me. It's good all around. I feed it to the cow too. And give her some. She really likes it. But it's a nice feed. It's oats and I forget what was in here. Barley, I think. Oats, barley, and then a mix of hay. Really nice stuff. They love it. You like it? Ah, it's yummy. It's good. If sheep could talk, eh? Hey, pickers. Pick, 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 pick. Pick, pick, pick. This girl here is due to have babies. Oh, I thought she would have had them already, so. I don't know the exact day she was bred. But you can see how large she's getting. Big and uncomfortable. I don't know how many are in there. Probably quite a few. But she should hopefully have some babies soon. We're looking forward to that. Well, we're getting to the end of the day here slowly. Had to bring that cylinder away for the tractor, so I just dropped it off. I'm coming back. It is snowing. It doesn't look as bad now anymore, but it's actually lessening up. It was snowing bad enough that I could hardly see on the roads. It's not bad now. It's supposed to lessen up. We got to go away tonight yet, so I'm glad if it does lessen up. That would be nice. Otherwise, it's not much fun driving. See all the snow in the back of the van piling up. And I just cleaned this lane here, so we got another, I don't know, 2-3 inches of snow just since, when did I clean it? Around lunchtime, I think. So it's coming down.